Number 11. If a solar energy system consists of 87 solar panels and each panel puts out 5 amperes, also called amps, of current, how many total amperes does the system generate? So we have 87 panels. Each one puts out 5 amps. So we could add 5 87 times, or we could multiply 87 times 5. And 87 times 5 is 435. So the system generates 435 amps. Number 12, if subflooring is laid at the rate of 84 square feet per hour, how many hours will be needed to lay 1,176 square feet? So we already know the total number of square feet that we need to lay, which is 1176. And we also know that each hour we can do 84. So in the first hour we do 84, and then during the second hour we can do 84 again, and then this continues until we get to 1176. So since we already know the total and we know the amount per hour, that's our key here, per hour, we're going to need to divide 1176 divided by 84. Now we can do this with long division, or you can do it on your calculator, and the answer will be 14. So to lay 1,176 square feet, 14 hours of labor at 84 square feet per hour will be needed. Number 13. A rural water district is required to set aside enough water for 2 hours of fire protection at a rate of 180 gallons per minute. How many gallons must it set aside? And be careful with our time units. Now notice they said 180 gallons per minute. But they gave us 2 hours of fire protection. So the first thing we need to do is change our 2 hours over to minutes, and there's 60 minutes in an hour, so that's 120 minutes. Now for each of these minutes, we need 180 gallons. 180 times 120 will be our answer. Now, the reason we're multiplying this time and not dividing is we don't know the total. We only know how much we need per minute and the number of minutes we have. So if we multiply 180 times 120, we will get 21,600. So the number of gallons that must be set aside is 21,600. Number 14. If an electrician's helper earns $20,666 per year and she pays $6,766 in withholding taxes, what is her take-home pay? So her actual salary, take away her withholding taxes, those are things like federal taxes, federal income taxes, state income taxes. Since she can't keep that, we have to subtract that, and we would get 13,900. So her take-home pay is only 13,900. Number 15. If a certain job pays $15 per hour, how much would it pay annually at 40 hours per week for 52 weeks per year? So what we have here is $15 an hour. Annually means per year, okay? 40 hours a week for 52 weeks. So this is your annual right here. This is our year right here. So we're going to pay 15 times 40. That's going to be how much per week? So 15 times 40 is 600. Then you're going to have your 600 for 52 weeks, so 600 times 52. And 600 times 52 is 31,200. Now you could do this problem all at one time, 15 times 40 times 52, and you will get the 31,200. So the certain job pays $31,200 annually at 40 hours per week for 52 weeks per year. Number 16, balance the checking account record. A, find the new balance, that is, after all the transactions, what's the balance going to be? And then find the balance for each date. Now remember that what we have here, withdrawals are all going to be minuses. And our deposits are all going to be pluses. So each day we'll start with our balance, and we will either add, deposit, or subtract a withdrawal. So we start with $62.81, and from that we're going to subtract $369 because it's a withdrawal. So that's going to give us $5,912. So that takes care of the first withdrawal. Now on the next day, we have to add $1,665. And that's going to give us $75.77. And I could also write these over here. 59, 12, 75, 77. Then I'm going to add 409 because it's a deposit. So that's going to give us 79, 86, 79, 86. And the next day we're going to add 452. It's going to give us 84, 38, 84, 38. Now we have a series of withdrawals. So we're going to do minus 23.23, 61.15. So that's 61.15 minus 19.31. That's 41.84. 41.84. Again, a withdrawal is minus 382. That's 38.02. 38.02. Then minus 1,046 is 27.56. 27.56. And minus 812 is 1944. 1944. So our 1944 is our balance A. Now, if they had not asked us to find each individual balance on each date, we could have just added our deposits. So that would be 1665 plus 409 plus 452. So 1665, 409, and 452 added together is 2526, and those are going to be added because they're deposits. And then our withdrawals, we're going to actually add those together, but then we're going to subtract them. So 369 2323, 1931, 382, 1046, and 812 is going to give me 369 plus 2323 plus 1931 plus 382 plus 1046 plus 812 gives me 6863, and this is going to be minus from our balance. So we'll start with 6281 plus 2526. 6281 plus 2526 is 8807. We'll take our 8807, subtract our 6863. 8807 subtract 6863, and we get the same overall balance, 1,944. How many joists, space 19 inches OC, which means on center, are required for a floor 456 inches long? Add 1 for the starter joist. So here is a basic picture of what we're trying to do. Okay, here's our floor space, and this is going to be our first joist, and then we're going to add them. All right, and this distance in between the middle of this first one to the next one is going to be 19 inches. And we have to do that over and over, okay, until we get to 456 inches. So we already know the total is 456, and we know we're going every 19 inches, so we're going to divide that by 19. So 456 divided by 19 is 24, okay? But because we're going, this is counted as 1, and this is counted as 2, and this is counted as 3, this first joist never got counted, and so that's why they tell us to add 1 for that first joist. So 25 joists are required for the floor. Number 18. A pump can deliver water at the rate of 100 gallons per minute. How long in hours and minutes will it take the pump to fill a 33,000 gallon tank? So once again, we see this phrase per minute. We know we need 33,000 gallons. And we know the rate is 100 per minute. So if we divide this by 100, we will know the number of minutes that it takes for the tank to fill. So that's 330 minutes. Now, clearly you can do this on your calculator. Let's look at how I did that long division. When you do long division, this is called the divisor, and this is called the dividend. Words you may see at times. We're trying to find the answer, which is called the quotient. And what we do is, since 100 won't go into 3, it won't go into 33, but we know it will go into 330 3 times. Then we multiply. We get 3 times 100 is 300, and then we subtract and bring down these zeros. Then we divide again, goes 3 times. 3 times 100 is 300, and then we subtract, and this time we get a 0, and so because I haven't gotten to the end of the number, I need to fill in with a 0 right there. So that's how we would do it long division. But we're not finished because they want it in hours and minutes. So to change, this is minutes so far, because look, they told us it was per minute. So this is 330 minutes. But to change minutes to hours, we have to divide by 60 because there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So 330 divided by 60. Once again, 60 won't go into 3, won't go into 33. This goes 5 times. 5 times 60 is 300, and there are 30 minutes left. Now, in order to write this in hours and minutes, look, this is hours, and this is the number of minutes we have left. So it's 5 hours, 30 minutes. Now, if you carry this division further and you go decimal point, 5 times 60 is 300, because we'd have to drop a 0 down. We will get 5.5 hours. Well, 5 hours and 0.5 hours. Think about 0.5. 0.5 is a half, and a half of 60 is also the 30 minutes. So the fastest way is just to see that you have 30 minutes remaining, and that's the 30 minutes that was here before I added that 0. So the correct answer is 5 hours and 30 minutes. Number 19. In the Olympics, a sportswoman won a medal in the heptathlon. The heptathlon consists of 7 separate events performed over 2 days, and the points for each event are added to determine the total score. Her points for each event are shown on the right. And so in this problem, they tell us that we need to add to find the total. So on day 1, these are the number of points that she earned. 1,040, 1,004, 859, 1,059. So we can add those manually by adding each column. 9 and 9 is 18 and 4 is 22. 2, carry our 2. 4, 5, 6, and 10 is 16. 6, carry our 1. 1 and 8 is 9. So it's 3 because we add those 3 ones. So 3,962 points for the first day. Now, we could also do that on our calculator, of course, but it's good to practice doing it manually sometimes. How many points did she earn on day 2? Well, here are our day 2 points. 1220, 753, and 976. And remember, you have to line up the last digit, not the first, but the last. So manually, 0, 3, and 6 is 9, nothing to carry. 2 and 5 is 7 plus 7 is 14, carry the 1. 1 and 2 is 3 plus 7 is 10 plus 9 is 19. 9, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, so 2,949 are the number of points she earned on day 2. And then what was her points total? Well, we take 3,962 and we add 2,949. And to do that, I'll add the 2 plus 9, which is 11, carry the 1. 1 and 6 is 7, plus 4 is 11, carry the 1. 1 and 9 is 10, plus 9 is 19, 9, carry the 1. 1 and 3 is 4, plus 2 is 6, 6,911 are the total number of points she earned over the 2-day period. Number 20. A potentiometer is a device that acts as a variable resistor, allowing a resistance to change from 0 ohms to some maximum value. If a 40,000 ohm potentiometer is set to 1,600 ohms, indicated by the omega symbol as shown here, calculate the resistance R. And so by looking at this picture, what you see is that the total here, omega, is 40,000. And the resistance R is what's left when you take away this 1600 ohms. So we've got 40,000, that's our total. We've got 1600. We subtract that to find this R value, and we get 38,400. So the resistance R is 38,400 ohms. Now, if you in the future work with a potentiometer, you're working in electricity. And so this is a application of electricity that you may not completely understand until you have studied ohms and resistance and variable resistors and things like that. But just by looking at this figure, I want you to notice that they gave us a total of 40,000 here, and then they gave us a partial total here, and this R is what's missing or what's left that we need to find. So these two, the 1600 and the R, would have to add up to the 40,000. Now later when we talk about equations, you will see that we solve this equation by subtracting 1600 from both sides. And anytime you're given a total length or distance, just in the picture here, this is our total length, okay? And then you're given a partial of that, okay? To find this leftover amount, I'll draw it in red here, okay? To find this amount, you have to take the total minus the partial amount, and that's going to give you what's left. You'll take the total minus the given, and that's going to give you, in this case they labeled it R, the remaining amount. So while you might not understand this in terms of electricity, this diagram could be used in a number of different ways, a number of different places as an application. And so just learning to read the diagram is important. Number 20, a potentiometer is a device that acts as a variable resistor, allowing a resistance to change from 0 ohms to some maximum value. If a 40,000 ohm potentiometer is set to 1600 ohms, indicated by the omega symbol as shown, calculate the resistance R. So in an application like this, if you don't have some background in electricity and the vocabulary of electricity, you may not understand exactly what they're asking you to do. However, I want you to learn to read a figure like this. So they've given us a total of 40,000, and it doesn't matter what the application is. We know this total length is 40,000, okay? Then they've given us a partial length of 1600. So in order to find this missing, we're going to have to take 40,000 and subtract 1600. These two parts have to add up to the whole, which is 40,000. When we do that subtraction, we get 38,400. So the resistance R is 38,400 ohms. And again, they use this Greek symbol, which means omega, to stand for ohms. Number 21. A mapper is a person employed by an electrical utility company who has the job of reading diagrams of utility installations and listing the materials to be installed or removed by engineers. Part of a typical job list might look like this. So in this table, we have the information about the installation. of some kind of conductor. It says in feet of conductor. We have location codes in the first column, A3, A4, B1, B5, B6, and a description of the conductors across the top, number 12, BHD, pound sign TX, 410, AAC, 110, ACSR, and 6B. And they're going to ask us to find the total feet of each of these kinds of conductors. Okay, so we're going to add down the columns for that. And then they're going to ask us for the total for each of the locations. So we're going to have to add across that way for those locations. So they ask us to start with the feet of conductor for number 12, BHD. So that's going to be 1820, 1149, 600, and 4138 added together. Now, you should practice adding these by hand sometimes, but of course you're going to use your calculator most of the time, especially on a job. You want to be accurate. So if you add those together, 7,707. Now that's the total going down the column to find the total needed of number 12 BHD. So that's 7,707. Then it asks us for pound TX. So that's going to be 30, 90, and 104. It's a good one to practice on. 0, 0, and 4 is 4. 3 and 9 is 12. Carry the 1. 224 feet of pound TX. 410 AAC, we need 1,300 plus 5110, 4045, and 788. Add those together. Use your calculator. And we get 11,243. The 110 ACSR, 3794, added to 3336, 3794 plus 3336 is 7,130. So we need a total of 7,130 of that kind of conductor. And then 6B is 450, 2190, and 1400. So again, we were adding down each column in order to find the total of each type of conductor that we would need to order. So 450 plus 2190 plus 1400, and we get 4,040. Now the next thing we need to do is figure out the total in feet of conductor for each of the locations. So our locations, again, are A3, A4, B1, B5, B6, and that means we're going to add down the rows in order to get those totals. So for location A3, we're going to add 1820, 30, 1300, and 450. And notice how I'm lining up the last digit. And of course, I'll also use my calculator to make sure I'm accurate. 1820 plus 30 plus 1300 plus 450 gives me 3,600 feet of conductor at location A3. At location A4, I have 1149, 5110, 2190. And again, I'll add those together. 1149, 5110 plus 2190 is 8,449. So that's the amount at the A4 location. At location B1, we have 637.94, 4394. That's our location B1, 4394. Then we have location B5 is 90, 4,045, and 1,400. I'll use my calculator this time. 90 plus 4,045 plus 1,400 is 5535. That's at location B5, and then B6, we have to add 4138, 104, 788, 3,336. And remember, if you have to do it manually, you line up that last digit on the right. 4138 plus 104 plus 788 plus 3,336 is 8,366. 8,366. Number 22. A potential new car buyer is trying to decide between Model 1 and Model 2. Use the following figures to calculate her total 5-year cost for each model. Then determine which model will cost her less and by how much. So we have a sales price, a 5-year fuel cost, and a 5-year resale value for 2 models of cars. For Model 1, the typical sales price is $23,228. Over the 5 years, there's an additional cost of $8,420 for fuel. So that means the total cost after 5 years is $23,228 plus $8,420, which is $31,648. Now, if after 5 years she's able to sell the car, you take the cost, $31,648, you take the resale, and you subtract that, $8,648 taken from $31,648, and we get that the total cost for the car, of course insurance isn't mentioned here, this is just for the car and the fuel, is $23,000. So this is the Model 1 total cost. We'll fill in the blanks in just a minute. Let's just go ahead and write that this is the total cost for Model 1. Now for Model 2, we have a sales price of $25,885 plus our fuel cost, $6,436. So our total cost is $25,885 plus $64,36 in fuel is $32,321. But the resale value is $9,064. So from the total cost of $32,321, we subtract $9,064, and we get that $32,321 minus $9,064 is $23,257. So this is the total cost for Model 2. And so what they want us to answer is blank cost, blank dollars, less than blank. So Model 1 is our first blank. And see, they're telling us here that we choose from Model 1 or Model 2. And it costs, look at the difference. We have $23,257 compared to $23,000. When you subtract those, that first car costs $257 less than Model 2. So we choose from these two for blank number 2. Model 1 costs $257 less than Model 2.